is it possible to totally bring about a mutation in what is? And to go into that, to go into this question of bringing about a total revolution in what is, one must have an extraordinary sense of awareness. To be aware what it means. To be aware of the trees, of the blue sky through the trees, of those hills beyond.
The speaker is Krishnamurti.
That noise of the motor.
He is a man who cannot be placed in a simple category like philosopher or religious leader. He is, however, one of the more challenging and creative men of our time. Born in South India in 1897 and educated in England, he has followed a singular and original path of thought free of factionalism and dogma. This is the first of 8 half-hour programs, and the first time that Krishnamurti has allowed his talks and private conversations to be filmed. The principal settings are the Oak Grove in Ojai, California, and the Thatcher School in the Ojai Valley. Ideas explored in this series range from what Krishnamurti calls the present crisis in consciousness to an examination of war, violence, love, pleasure and pain, the aging of the body, and death.
We were saying how very important it is to bring about in the human mind a radical revolution. The crisis, and there are always crises in the world, especially now, it seems to me, is a crisis in consciousness. A crisis that cannot anymore accept the old norms, the old patterns, the ancient traditions, a particular way of life, whether it is the American way or the European way or the Asiatic way. And considering what the world is now, with all the misery, conflict, destructive brutality, aggression, tremendous advancement in technology, and so on, it seems to me, though man has cultivated the external world and has more or less mastered it, inwardly he still, as he was, a great deal of animal in him, is still brutal, violent, aggressive, acquisitive, competitive, and he has built a society along these lines. What do you think is happening to the whole American people? With the automation, with electronic brains, with, you know what I mean, the whole setup. What is happening and where are they going? You understand?
I think an increasing number of them are beginning to ask themselves the question to whether or not there may be alternative forms of human behavior. Because they have...
And what do they do? Because by then, after asking questions and all the rest of it, they're almost finished. They're ready for the grave. And in Europe, the phenomenon there is the same as here, more or less. The production is more perhaps than in America.
in
Germany, and Russia is about to do the same. So take all these spots, put them together, China, Japan, whole of Asia, India included, and then Europe, America, China. Where is it all moving? What we are concerned with is the understanding of the whole process of life, with all its complexity, with its aggressions and miseries, with its sorrows and confusions and agonies. And to understand this vast field of life, which is a constant movement, one must not only hear the words, but also go beyond the words. Because the words, the explanations are not the facts. But most of us are caught in words. And one must be free of the word, the symbol, the idea, the conclusion. Then one can look. Then one can listen. And that act of listening is really a miracle. Perhaps it's the greatest miracle. When one can listen totally, without any defense, without any barrier, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. This doesn't mean the mind is open. On the contrary, the mind is extraordinarily alert there. I hope when one is listening to this talk or to the various other talks that are coming, one hears a lot of words. And hearing many words is not listening. It's like a noise among the leaves. Soon passes away. When we hear, we either accept or reject. Or we translate what we hear according to our knowledge, our background. Or we compare what is being said to what is already known. Or we oppose one idea by another. All these characteristics of hearing denies the act of listening. The act of listening is entirely different. When one listens, there is no comparison, there is no acceptance or rejection. The quality of listening is attention. And when you attend totally, with your whole mind, with your heart, with your nerves, with your eyes and ears completely, in that state of attention, there is the act of listening. And that act of listening puts away anything that is not true. When you give your whole attention to something, that is when you are completely listening. You listen to the totality of the thing. When you attend, there is no borders of inattention. When you so intently intensely listen. You are listening to the birds, to the wind, to the breeze among the leaves. You listen to the slightest whisper that's about you. So in the same way, when one listens, that very act of listening brings about a total attention in which you see the totality and the whole significance and structure of what is being said. When you say, I can't, you have blocked yourself.
But you can't understand one word.
Not by blocking yourself. Look, sir, if I say there is no God, I've blocked myself, haven't I? Or if I say there is God, I've blocked myself. But if I say I really don't know, let's find out. Then I have the energy to go into it. Right? Now, so don't let's say yes or no. Don't let's take sides about it. Now, how would you see the totality of something, of life? You know, get a grasp of feeling, a touch of it, a smell of it.
Trying to take more and more of it and understand more and more of it.
You have no time.
No, that's the problem.
That's the problem, of course.
You're saying
That's what I
you can't
said.
go that way.
That's what I said at the beginning.
Yes.
I mean, if I take time, you know, it will be impossible. Follow it up step by step. You have approached this problem with the habitual tools, and you have eliminated those tools. Not because you are prejudiced against them, but you see that they won't answer. Now, when you have eliminated them because they do not answer, your mind is sharper, isn't it? Of course, you have eliminated them. Right?
Of what significance is hope and faith to living?
What significance is hope and faith to living? I hope you won't think me harsh if I say there is no significance at all. We've had hope. We've had faith. Faith in church, faith in politics, faith in leaders, faith in gurus. Because we've wanted to achieve a state of bliss, of happiness and so on. And hope has nourished this faith. And when one observes through history, through our life, all that hope and faith have no meaning at all. But what is important is what we are. Actually what we are. Not what we think we are. Or what we think we should be. But actually what is. If we know how to look at what is, that will bring about a tremendous transformation. Would you say there are California or America or even California, there's something new stirring? Or the same old pattern being repeated?
It seems to me to be the same old pattern.
Say in California, you live in California. Is the climate being so marvelous here? Is it productive of some new state of human being, new human? We are the product of the society in which we live, the experience, the knowledge and all the rest of it. And there is nothing original. We repeat. And to find out anything new requires tremendous inquiry, meditation. You don't just get it by just coming to a meeting for an hour and thinking one has to work tremendously hard. You do work very hard to earn a livelihood, to go to the office every day. But this requires much more understanding, much more careful examination. And one doesn't have the energy, the patience, or the interest, because this is non-profitable. It doesn't bring you any profit, financial or any other way. But here is the question. I suffer physically, psychologically, and I can do something physically. Psychologically, I don't know what to do. And not knowing what to do, I escape. Or go to somebody who will tell me what to do. Or I put up with it, getting more and more and more bitter, dull, stupid, full of animosity and all the rest of it. Without doing any of those things, can one look at that thing? Neither enjoying it nor pushing it away. Which means, can I look at it without any demand to overcome it, to justify it, to control it, just to be observed. Because how is it possible to do what I say for? Do it for a second, do it. As I said the other day, the word how is the most mischievous word. Because you want somebody else to tell you how to do it. So we suffer, not willing to suffer. There is suffering. And we are asking, can you look at it and remain with it, be quiet with it. Neither accepting nor rejecting, just be quiet with it. Huh? Please, doesn't this require great meditation? No, please, do it. If one does it, you will find that you derive from that very observation a great energy, don't you? You are not dissipating any energy. It is there.
When the question, such as what am I to do with myself, or however the question may be framed, there is always someone there, whether it's the advertising man on television or the Zen master, to give him a set of answers and somebody follows him. Because there is nothing in this culture that we're talking about that would prompts people to listen, really to come into relation with themselves in a tough-minded way.
This is young nation, you follow it? A mixture of extraordinary, thought they would produce something extra, you know.
Well, we don't know quite what will happen when this nation faces up to an external crisis. They never have.
Would you say she has reached immaturely, forced by circumstances, a pinnacle of maturity, and now declining?
This I would say.
You would say.
When you have really faced with a problem of war, of famine, of death, of poverty and so on, you can't argumentatively discuss about them. One has to deal with them. One has to put one's teeth into them. And you cannot artificially, intellectually have teeth to put to problems that are vital. So I hope when we ask questions and go into those questions, I hope they will not be merely intellectual or curious, but serious enough to investigate for ourselves what lies behind these questions and their import. What is the problem? Hunger. Hunger, lack of clothes, shelter, all that. Now, how is it going to be solved? Not by a particular nation. As you and I can't solve this, if we went in there we couldn't solve it. No sovereign government is going to solve it. No Indian government is going to solve it. They can pretend, and they do. So, what is preventing the solution of this problem is nationalism. My flag, your flag, my country, your country, and the division that takes place geographically, which is exploited by the politician. That is the factor, one of the major factors of preventing the solution of starvation, of feeding the people. Now, science has means of giving food, clothes, and shelter practically to everybody. It's not being done because you are a British, I'm an Indian or Russian. So it's a world problem, not individual or nationalistic problem.
How do you suppose that one be able to overcome these nationalistic barriers?
First, one has to be free of it oneself. Wait. One has to be free of it oneself. Neither American nor Indian nor... Then get up and talk, shout, do anything not for the little things, but for the major issues. Then perhaps you will sow some seed that will take root. Now, if every human being, educated, cultured, who is really serious, wants to solve this problem, he will do something. Like war. We have accepted war as the way of life. All man has, throughout centuries. And to stop war, difference is concerned with the whole process of living as a human being. Then perhaps we'll be able to solve this question of war.
Potentially, society has solved the problem of food, clothing, and shelter. Well, once you solve those problems, what do you have to look? What else?
I don't quite understand what else. You mean what is beyond these three?
Yes.
So what is man seeking, basically? He basically is seeking these three. Because these are absolute necessities, whether it's California or India or Russia or anywhere. So beyond that, he says, after satisfying that, let's seek something else. Let's go after something else. Is that the way to begin? Is it bread first and then the other, or the other first and bread afterwards? I don't know if you...
I follow you, I believe.
Yes. So, in getting bread, we get lost. We get superficial, we get caught in the trap of amusement and religiosity, all that. But if we were not seeking so much, if we were after something more than bread and butter, in the more included the bread and butter, then I think this problem would never arise.
What we are trying in all these discussions and talks here is to see if we cannot radically bring about a transformation of the mind. Not accept things as they are. Nor revolt. Revolt doesn't answer everything. But to understand it, to go into it, to examine it, give your heart and your mind with everything that you have to find out a way of living differently. But that depends on you and not somebody else. Because in this there is no teacher, no pupil, there is no leader, there is no guru, there is no master, no savior. You yourself are the teacher and the pupil, you are the master, you are the guru, you are the leader, you are everything. And to understand is to transform what is. That's enough what it is.
This has been Program 1 in a series of 8 programs presenting the original and challenging thought of Krishnamurti. During the past 4 decades, in his writings and talks in Europe, Asia, and America, Krishnamurti has continued to explore the real revolution, a radical change in ourselves. Subsequent programs will be concerned with love, death, fear, and the possibility of a fundamental change in consciousness. The next program in the series is titled Observing Ourselves.
the National Educational Television Network.